I'm James Rule. Welcome to the Lonely Leader podcast, where we help existing and aspiring leaders find clarity, build resilience, drive performance, and enhance fulfillment. I think most of us accept the practicality of having a mentor, but the challenge I see so many leaders wrestling with is how to identify, approach, and actually secure the time of somebody exceptional that can truly enhance your career, your performance, and your leadership impact. One of our most popular episodes in the back catalogue of the Lonely Leader podcast is in the links below, episode 67, where we talked about how finding the right mentor can be a huge accelerating factor in your career, your performance, your progression. And I think that resonates. It's one of the most downloaded episodes for a reason. People understand the benefit. They want to have a mentor, but then so many of us, I've been there myself during my time as a CEO, you just get absorbed into the busyness of your role and for whatever reason, lose sight of the power of a mentor. Now, sometimes it's busyness. Sometimes it's not really having the clarity of what do I need? So you don't really know where to start. Sometimes it's flaws in the strategy. People have reached out, perhaps had a rejection, lost the confidence of making those approaches. So today's episode is about giving you a roadmap, a guide to try and overcome some of those challenges, to give you the clarity, to give you a strategy, a way to approach people, and in my experience, almost guarantee receiving a yes and developing that network of mentors that can be absolutely transformational to you as an individual and your career progression. So the first step I want you to consider is self-awareness. We must establish clarity on the fundamentals. Where are you strong? Where are you weak? Where do you feel stuck? Where do you feel exposed? However you position the questions, you're trying to identify and establish clarity. Because one thing's for certain, if you do get face time with some senior, high-performing, highly respected individual, and you approach them in a waffly, incoherent, vague style, then you are not going to make that positive first impression, and you will kill the opportunity almost at the start of a longer-term mentor-mentee relationship. So we must start with those fundamental questions. Now, a lot of leaders struggle with this. One of the raison d'etres for calling my business The Lonely Leader is we're frightened of showing any sort of vulnerability, any sort of skills gap, knowledge gap. So we sort of park that and pretend we have all the answers to all the situations. We don't like to think of where we're weak. Well, it's just a deluded strategy because all we do is end up pushing ourselves into an isolated and lonely position. So this is an area I spend time with individuals, helping them really understand where are my gaps? What are the gaps in my skill set? What are the gaps in my knowledge base? Because that naturally leads us on to the next step in our strategy of finding the right mentor for you. I want you to consider a network of mentors versus chasing the perfect mentor. What do I mean by that? Well, you might be fortunate enough to find somebody that ticks all the proverbial boxes, that gives you everything you need. They are the archetypal perfect mentor. But in my experience, that is very, very rare. And therefore, rather than slowing yourself down, procrastinating, trying to find the perfect fit and ruling so many potential mentors out because they're not that perfect, all-seeing mentor, look at the concept of I'm going to develop a network of mentors and I will have different people for different areas of my growth. So if I was to sort of break down what sort of people may be in that network as a style, as a framework for you to think about, rather than just one person has to hit all of these. Because as you'll hear, it's hard for somebody to have all of the answers in all of these areas. So the first area may be that skill mentor, somebody who's got the insight to help you build specific capabilities and close those aforementioned skills gaps that you're currently struggling with. The next area to consider is the career mentor, somebody that can help you really understand progression, political maneuvering, networking, how to step round those pitfalls and actually move forward from a career planning and development point of view. Next, you've got the challenger mentor, and I like to operate a little bit in this area. It's somebody who can challenge your mindset, put you very much in that growth mindset rather than that fixed mindset, believing in what you can do, helping drive your standards, remove your excuses, very much in your corner and supporting you, but sometimes willing to give you that sort of tough love, that constructive feedback, constructive criticism to help move you forward. The last thing you need is an echo chamber where everybody just nods and says, yes, everything's great, you're doing everything perfectly. There's no growth in that. So sometimes we're looking for somebody who can really challenge us and help us move to that next level. I often hear people talking about an industry mentor. So there's a bit of a dotted line back to the career mentor and helping you understand progression. But this is very much moving away from the politics, just a sector specific individual. We talked about skill development. Maybe this is part of your knowledge gap development about really truly understanding your industry and how to navigate through it. This overview is designed just to give you a starting point, really. You can start to think, well, who do I know that would fit into that skills component? Who do I know that's great in my industry? Who's navigated their career particularly well? Who's someone that would challenge me? And that's a great place to start. We've started with the clarity piece. Where are your gaps? What are you trying to address, skill, knowledge wise? Then you start to think about the type of mentors are out there, which will then help you develop a little bit of a shortlist potentially of people you know, or indeed people you know that know somebody else. There's nothing wrong with reaching beyond your immediate network. It's about finding the right fit. And that takes us into the next tip that I want to share today. Choose wisely. Choose with discernment. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's not just about, well, they're famous. They've got a high level of status or seniority. It's being a bit more diligent in understanding their character, their values. Will there be an alignment? Do I want to walk the path they've walked? Do I want to end up in the position they're in? Does their definition of success align with mine? So I know it sounds like I'm overcomplicating it, but there's nothing worse than stepping into an environment with somebody and finding that there's just a jarring difference in their perspective and their outlook. Now, that can happen and you can politely reverse out of the process, thank them for the time, and that's the end of it. But why waste your time unnecessarily? So when you're choosing, we've looked at the filters, we've looked at what you need, we've looked at your gaps, then try and understand, when I look at them, would I like to emulate what they've done? Would I like to follow a similar career path? Would I like to end up in the position they are in? Would I like to be held in the regard they're held in? And if the answer to any of that is no, then start afresh. What's the point of pursuing that if their destination is not a destination you want to arrive at, and their style and how they're perceived is not a style that you want to emulate? So I think sometimes we get dazzled by, well, they're the CEO or they're a CFO or they're, part of that C-suite higher level executive, so therefore they must be the right mentor for me. Not necessarily. That's an important distinction I want you to reflect on today. Not necessarily. It's not about status. It's about the right fit for you. The next area I want you to reflect on is the perfection of your approach. Now, there are so many ways that I see people stumble when they make the approach. One, they come in too hard, too heavy. I want you to mentor me for the next year. We're all busy. Put yourselves on the receiving end of that request. If somebody came along and said, I need time from you every week or every couple of weeks for infinity, is that okay? Our gut feel is always going to be, I'm a bit busy for that. Equally, I see people do an emotional dump. It's just far too long, far too needy, far too emotive, trying to impress their potential mentor with the depth of their need and the passion for the need. But again, it can intimidate, it can frighten people off that this is going to be too time consuming, too emotionally draining. And so to perfect this approach, I advise brevity. I advise being careful in your choice of language. Rather than saying, I need you to mentor me, is that okay? Use phrases like, I admire, I respect, and then be specific. Show that you've done some due diligence. I admire or respect how you delivered project X. I admire or respect how you navigated scenario Y. Then you're asking for their advice or perspective. As opposed to a long-term mentorship, it's, I would really appreciate meeting with you briefly, face to face or virtually, and seeking your perspective or seeking your advice. And again, if you can be specific, then add that further layer, your advice or specific on a similar situation I am currently navigating through. Now, the psychology to this, that doesn't feel overwhelming. You're not tying them into a long term commitment. You are pandering to an ego, which we all have, of complimenting something that they've done, but not just empty rhetoric. You're complimenting a specific, which shows you are aware of who they are, and what their career has entailed. And then once again, there's that subtle compliment of, I would value your opinion. I'm asking your advice or perspective. So that shorter, more carefully worded approach will yield far more success, far more yeses, I'd be happy to meet, than I'm a little bit busy at the minute. So don't stumble in that initial positioning, because we've got to get you in front of that mentor. That's when you can really sell yourself, make that first impression count. But if you don't even get into the room or into the virtual room with them because of how you've positioned the approach, well, then you're just burning the opportunity before you've even really had a chance to step into it. So you've had a yes, somebody's willing to meet. The next tip is make sure your level of preparation reflects the importance of the opportunity. Now is not the time to wing it. Once again, when I deconstruct where some people have stumbled through setting up the right mentorship opportunities, if it's not their initial language which stopped them getting in the room in the first place, it's that they were underprepared. They thought they could wing it, freestyle, see how things go, and busy people see through that and see it as a sign of disrespect. You've asked for my time, and then you've come and you're not prepared. Put yourself in that situation. If you had said yes to somebody who wants to come and ask for your advice and perspective, and then they just came in with some, any ideas? How do I get better? Just a waffly, general, unprepared question like that. What would you think? It's not going to be positive, is it? So this is an opportunity for you potentially to tap into years, if not decades, of wisdom that this mentor has collated through their journey. This is an opportunity for you to massively accelerate your career progression as a consequence. This is an opportunity for you to avoid stress, time-consuming mistakes and errors. You really can't underestimate the power of getting access to somebody who has walked the path that you admire, who has a set of values and a way of operating, as we said earlier, that you respect and admire. So this is a huge opportunity. When we frame it like that, hopefully you can see that I'm not patronizing you. I'm just reiterating, why would you have an opportunity like that and under-prepare? So what do you need to do? Well, go right back to that clarity point. Where am I strong? Where am I weak? Where are my skills gaps? Where are my knowledge gaps? Start to zero in on that. So when you sit down with someone, you can be really direct. I am currently struggling in this area or this area. I want to be stronger in this area or this area. I feel like I'm doing pretty well in this area, but I want to develop it and go to a higher level. I really want to ask you specifically about that and your suggestions of how I may be to grow and develop, learn from your experiences to close some of those gaps or to build on that strength or to remove some of those weaknesses. Having a specific ask makes it so much easier for the mentor because they can jump straight into, oh, good question. Right, well, let me give you a perspective on that. I experienced something similar. This is what I did. And you're off and running. So having a raft of questions is the easy way to ensure that that first impression is positive. The mentor's immediately thinking, I like this individual. They're switched on. They've come prepared. They know exactly what they need. They make life easy for me. Easy when we say it like that, but so easy just to say, well, I'll just wing it, as I said, and see how it goes. Yes, you'll have a nice conversation, but the chances are that will be your first and last conversation, and there'll be no more one-to-one mentorship opportunities in the future. Okay, so you've had that first meeting, you got a lot out of it. Now I want to move on to earning the second meeting. Now, there are two core elements to this for me. One is you follow up with class in a really impactful way. My recommendation is a handwritten note. Now, that might seem arduous, it may seem time consuming, but just think back to the last time you received a handwritten note. It's not an easy thing to remember. For some of you, you might not be able to remember it. We're so quick now just to jump on a text or a voice note or an email. And obviously, 101, first and foremost, we have to express our appreciation and gratitude for the time the mentor's given us. So if that's the option you go down, fine. But that's the basic. We can't just walk out without any note of thanks. But if you can personalize it with a handwritten note, that lands on their desk in a totally different style. It is effort well worth making. Now, the second element is to show that you have reflected, taken something, and ideally implemented something. So the note may go beyond, thank you for your time. It was really insightful. I took so much knowledge and wisdom out of that conversation. Specifically with regard to Project X, I've implemented ABC as per your advice, and I'm already seeing positive results as a consequence. Really grateful, boom, boom, boom. Now, you can bring that to life in your own style, but the element of gratitude combined with specific action, because again, one of the things that makes mentorship fall down, I know I do this a lot. You have a plan, you give somebody a steer, you come back, did you do it? No, I haven't done that. And did you do this? No, I've been really busy. Well, that's fine. We're all busy, but your mentor very quickly is going to say, well, if I'm giving you advice that you don't want to implement, that's absolutely fine, but why would I keep giving you that advice? Conversely, if it's, I appreciate what you told me, I've implemented it, it's gone really well, I've got a couple more questions now, they're happy to continue that dialogue because you're showing proactivity. And as a consequence of that, you've got a fresh set of questions regarding the implementation of the advice you got in meeting one. So it's not guaranteed, but when you follow up in that classy style with a handwritten note, show that you specifically done something, then at the end of that note, you can then wrap it. I recognize how busy you are, but if there would be a possibility of having another meeting, another session with you at some point, I'd be truly grateful. So make sure you put that ask in there. It's not just a note purely of thanks, because if you don't ask, they might not come back and suggest it. But if you follow that template, I'm pretty confident you will get a second opportunity. So just to be devil's advocate for a second, please reframe any rejection. So I've said there's a high likelihood that you'll get a follow-up and that this relationship will blossom, but there is a chance that it will be, well, thank you very much. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to see you anymore. And immediately think, oh, I've done something wrong. Now, maybe you have. Work back through the steps. Were you prepared? Were you respectful? Were you specific in your request? Did you follow up? Did you express gratitude? Etc., etc. If you've done all those things, sometimes it's not personal, it's just circumstantial. You don't know what pressures that particular individual's got on their plate, what they are dealing with, either professionally or personally, and they just may not have the capacity to be able to keep working with you. That does not mean you should never approach another mentor ever again. It just means respectfully bring that to a conclusion. Thank you again. Respect that. Very grateful for your time, and best of luck for you in the future. Now, maybe that door will open again, but you don't burn any bridges. And as we said at the start of this episode, we're talking about building a network of mentors, not just an individual. So as one door closes, we're looking at some of those other potential opportunities, going back through the steps, making that succinct but relevant approach to somebody else to step through that door. One final point, when you do meet that rejection, don't be embarrassed or frightened to say, just one final question from me. Is there anybody else in your network that you think it will be worth me approaching to continue my growth and development? They'll probably feel a little bit guilty about saying, I can't see you anymore. So against that backdrop, they're more likely to say, well, actually, yes, reach out to Mr. X or Miss Y and mention my name. And before you know it, you're through another door, having another mentor opportunity and mentorship conversation. And my final tip on this is be bold, aim high. We get one life, we get one career. Why not approach the people that can give you the best opportunity for growth and development? So often I see mentorship stumbling because we stay in our comfort zone. We're only asking people who are in our immediate network, perhaps just a level above us in our organization, shoot for the stars, reach for the CEO, however big your organization is. I've got case study evidence. I would never breach confidentiality and talk about specific names, but I've got people in huge multi-billion dollar organizations who have reached out to the CEO and got an audience, and people challenge them. How on earth did you do that? Well, I asked. So the worst anyone can say is no, but think big. Look to the highest levels within your organization and look to the highest levels outside your organization. Once we've established the right fit, where people are that you respect and admire and you think there's an alignment there, then reach out. Be bold. Don't fear the rejection, because very few people are consistently reaching out anymore and asking for this support. So you'll be surprised at how relatively easy it is to get a yes if you follow the key steps we've talked through in this episode today. So if I leave you with a final thought today, mentorship is not something that you get offered. I wish it was that easy. I wish that when I reflect back on my career, that there were mentors queuing up at the door. It's something you have to go and intentionally seek out. As we've said earlier, be bold, be brave, and often there will be a yes, but the onus is on you to go looking. And I think, just bringing a very personal reflection, I stepped into being a CEO at a young age, and I had some really supportive people around me in the shareholder group when I stepped into that role. But I should, with the benefit of hindsight, had the courage and confidence to say, I've got gaps. I've got lots of gaps in terms of skill, knowledge, experience. I'm still young. I haven't been in this world for very long. So who can help me? And I did embrace that in the medium to latter stages of my CEO tenures. But in those early days, I was so obsessed with making the right impression and not giving anybody any potential thoughts that, well, James isn't up to the job because he's got these skills gaps and knowledge gaps. What I should have done is be much more comfortable to say, of course I've got gaps. How can I have all the answers? I'm fresh into this role. It's my first CEO opportunity. So particularly for those of you that are perhaps in the more early stages of your leadership tenure, you may be more hesitant to reach out. Trust me, we all remember being young or inexperienced, or potentially young and inexperienced in our role. Nobody will think less of you for saying, I've got gaps. I certainly don't. I think that's what helps me inform a lot of my work as a coach and a mentor, is I remember what I would have been thinking and how I would have been positioning things in my late 20s when I first stepped into that senior CEO leadership environment. So we've all been there. Never lose sight of that. Everybody's walked a very similar path. So your gaps and challenges is what the mentor you are speaking to will have also experienced. Therein lies the point of this. You are going to them for advice on their journey, not just about where they finished, but how they got there. So I think that's just a mindset shift of be intentional, put your fears to one side, don't wait for the mentorship to be offered, go looking for it. So how does that manifest? Well, do some work as quickly as possible. Do that first step, establish clarity. Where are my gaps? Think about what sector you want to approach somebody. Is it somebody that's going to help you on the political side? Is it somebody industry knowledge? Is it someone around skills gaps? Make your shortlist. Who do you admire and respect? Who do you like when you look at their path? Whose path do you like and admire? And then craft your outreach message and send it. Don't overthink it. Get it out there. All of that, those last 3 steps within that little challenge for you can be done very quickly. Do it. Remove the fear, step through your fear, build some momentum. I'd be hopeful you get a yes. Let me know how you get on with these tips. Your feedback, as I always say, is massively appreciated. And if I can be of any support to you, if you think I may be a suitable fit to help you from a mentorship perspective, then do not hesitate to reach out through the email or social media contact details that you can find in the show notes. I wish you the very best of luck on your continued journey of growth and development. Thanks for listening to the Lonely Leader podcast. I'd be very grateful if you could share and follow if the content resonates. And if you're looking for additional free resource to support your continued growth and development, then please do check out our social media and website details in the show notes. Remember, quality leadership on the outside must always start within.